And now we would like to move to the panel discussion in building capacity in cybersecurity, moderated by Dr. Omar Ibrahim, who is Assistant Professor in the IS Department. And will join the talk Professor Qasim, Mr. Vivek Joshi, who is a Deputy Counselor for Economic Affairs in the US Embassy, Engineer Ali Khalid, who is the head of the IT security unit at the Central Bank in Kuwait. Also, Mr. Mishal Zayed, who is the head of emergency response section at CITRA. Go ahead, Dr. Omar Ibrahim. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm pleased to join the panel as the moderator. So I'll be asking questions to our beloved guests. So stay tuned. We have interesting discussions coming our way. Before we do that, let me just introduce myself. My name is Dr. Omar. I mean, Aisha mentioned a couple of things. Probably want to kind of touch base on my background. I mean, I studied abroad in the US. I got my PhD and master's, both in computer science from the US. And I have, studied cybersecurity for a while. I have been doing cybersecurity research on various different topics, social networks, specifically looking into ocean tools. I've been looking into recently researching blockchain and cybersecurity blockchain, as well as I've been playing around with like IoT hacking. So I'm an experimental guy. So this is one of the tools that I've been working on. This is like an SPI injection tool, which you can plug into devices and flash devices like a webcam by injecting your own firmware. Bluetooth is like my favorite tools that I've been playing with, looking into BLE traffic and looking into stuff that you might not think of how they can be hacked. There are a lot of little things that you can do with IoT hacking, and a lot of the equipment that we buy from outside, whether it's Amazon or like from any Chinese market, you take them with a grain of salt about their security. A lot of times you see a lot of hard-coded passwords and probably non-encrypted traffic and stuff like that. And we're probably going to expect our smart meters to come soon. So that's a nice gadget to play with as well. But I'm not responsible for anything. So let's introduce our panelists. I would like to know more about their experiences and their positions and how they feel about cybersecurity and cybersecurity capacity in the state of Kuwait. So let me start with Mr. Vivek. Please free to introduce yourself and just give us an opening statement on your thoughts.
Sure. Thank you very much. Can you all hear me? Yes, good. Thank you. So first of all, thanks to the Department of Information Sciences at the Kuwait University, and specifically to Omar, yourself, Dr. Dari, and your capable team for hosting such an interesting event. I think it's long overdue. I think it was extremely useful. I sat through the entire presentations, and it covered a wide range of issues that definitely need more attention. So to introduce myself, as you said, I'm Vivek Joshi. I'm the Deputy Economic Counselor here at the U.S. Embassy, and I primarily cover three major portfolios here: the oil and gas industry, cybersecurity, and aviation. And all three were touched upon in some ways, one way or the other. So in terms of cybersecurity, I think my role here at the embassy is sort of, create an overarching environment through a cybersecurity working group that we have within the embassy to not only interact with all the agencies that we have, for example, Department of Defense, Department of Justice, FBI, and so forth, to coordinate with those agencies within the embassy and have a comprehensive sort of whole of government approach in dealing with the government of Kuwait. And so I think my role here is to not only look at what we can offer in terms of developing capacity with our host government, for primarily two purposes. As you know, U.S. and the United and Kuwait are interlinked through a very long history. I mean, we just celebrated 60 years of diplomatic relationships and 30 years of Kuwait's liberation. And through the thick and thin, we have been together, and our economic and security interests are interlinked very, very closely. And in a networked world that we live in, cyber security becomes one of the most important and a crucial sort of security aspects. So I think in terms of working with the Kuwaiti government, we work very closely with CITRA, obviously. And our goal is through very strategic engagement with the government of Kuwait, build a robust sort of regulatory framework, or at least help the government of Kuwait build a regulatory framework, implement some of the best practices, such as NIST's cyber framework, or help Kuwait reach the Prague proposals, for example, for 5G infrastructure, promote clean networks. I think that is one of the issues that we've been very, very closely working on, is incorporating trusted vendors. As many of the speakers sort of alluded to, users are contribute to the overall security, but at the same time, equipment within the systems also contributes to the overall security. And then finally, we want to create policies that attract reputable multinationals who responsibly protect data integrity, data security, cloud frameworks, and so on and so forth. And then finally, create linkages with U.S. Professional and educational institutions to sort of increase the overall resiliency within the cybersecurity. So that's basically my sort of opening statement, but I'll be open to discussions as we go along. So thank you.
Good, thank you. Engineer Adam, introduce yourself and your thoughts.
Sure. Jazakum Allah bil khair. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ali Al-Khalid, the head of IT security at the Central Bank of Kuwait. I'm the CISO of the Central Bank of Kuwait. Thank you for providing us this opportunity to talk about the experience of the Central Bank of Kuwait in cybersecurity. On a personal level, I have been at the Central Bank of Kuwait for almost 16 years. Experienced in IT operations, IT security, and cybersecurity. Today, I'm going to just give an overview of the Central Bank of Kuwait experience with the cybersecurity through giving the story of the journey that started in 2016, and giving the story is going to give everybody a highlight on how do we see cybersecurity and what aspects do we focus on and what objectives do we have in this regard, especially the ones that have been discussed and by Dr. Qasim in the CMM in the CMM framework that was adopted by CITRA and overviewed by Dr. Qasim. Our journey started in 2016. We created the Cybersecurity Information Security Group, which is headed by the Central Bank of Kuwait and membered by all CISOs of the banks, of the Kuwaiti banks. This group was intended to build a channel with everybody and to share information and share experiences and collaborate. We have seen the importance of that, so we took the initiative to create that group. In 2017, with the help of the group, we kickstarted our project, which is building our cybersecurity framework. That took us 2 years until 2019 to build. Our cybersecurity framework basically had a clear objective, which is cyber resilience for the banking sector, and has different main pillars and components that are important. We feel it's important to the resilience of the banking sector. First, we formalized the work of the Information Security Group by having a TOR, terms of reference. We built a manual for cybersecurity controls, which we believe is important as to achieve the baseline security requirement, the basic hygiene for the banks and the non-banks, which are basically regulated entities with us. And we built a maturity model, a maturity scale, where we not only start or stop at the baseline, we go even beyond that in a journey that will basically take us probably 3 to 5 years. The control manual basically focuses on 4 major areas. One is GRC, which is the governance, risk and compliance, the technology and operations, the third-party security, and payment system security. These are the 4 pillars of our control manual that we have created. This is the second part of our cybersecurity framework. The third part is basically building a crisis management framework, incident response and crisis management framework, a dedicated framework to manage incidents and to manage crises in collaboration with the banks in order to be able to handle the crises that are affecting the sector as a whole. Now, this is number 3. Number 4 is building a strategy and a plan and a platform for information sharing, cyber threat intelligence information sharing, as we believe that sharing information is very important to us. And the last one and the last pillar is basically building an inspection framework, supervisory framework. How do we inspect on the banks in order to check their their alignment with our requirement? And we have a goal is to test also not only the compliance, but also doing a sector-wide red teaming assessment to the banks to check their readiness to respond to the cybersecurity incidents. This is our framework from 2017 until 2019. In 2018, we launched our first Cyber Leaders Program, which is basically in collaboration with the IBS, Institute for Banking Studies, and the banks. We sent a group of 20 people, 50% from the banking sector and 50% from the overall community. We have done this with PGI, which is the same consultant that was with Citra. Also in 2018, we have done our self-assessment with Citra based on the national cybersecurity strategy that they have built and based on the CMM, the Oxford CMM version 2014. We have done that. We have done the exercise early 2018, and we have received their assessment and recommendation late 2018. So this is basically 2018. In 2019, we have completed our cybersecurity framework, building that with the banks. That was in mid-2019. And we have sent our second batch of cybersecurity leaders in collaboration with PwC. Also, we had 19 or 20 people who have been sent into the program in order to create cybersecurity leaders. This was in 2019. In 2020, we had our banks to comply with ISO 27001. We had our banks to work in compliance for PCI DSS. We launched our cybersecurity framework. We sent it early in 2020 before Corona for them to comply to they will comply to, inshallah, by July 2021. And on the regional level, we propose to have a GCC cybersecurity team for central banks, and it was accepted and approved by the governors of the GCC late in 2020. And we built with it a cyber threat intelligence sharing framework with them as well, and it is in effect now. It is fully approved and it is in effect now. In 2021, we had a collaboration with BIS, Bank of International Settlement, and Carnegie Mellon University for cyber resilience assessment exercise. It's a pilot with eight other central banks using the CRA methodology that by Carnegie Mellon and based on the RMM, which Dr. Qasim has already shown the RMM that was basically published in 2016. We had this exercise starting in January, and we completed it in May to assess one of our critical services based on the CRA, Carnegie Mellon CRA assessment. This is basically in 2021. Also, we had our public PR campaign, لنكن على دراية, which is a PR campaign to raise awareness on cyber and non-cyber risks that are facing the community who are dealing with the banks. Also, we had a collaboration with Kuwait University, مركز التدريب الهندسي مع كلية الهندسة, and we received trainees from Kuwait University to train with us, train in our environment on cybersecurity, and we use the methodology that is, I'm sure you have heard of, is NIST framework, which is the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, the Cybersecurity Workforce Framework, which basically has an interesting methodology that basically starts with a task, it goes specific to the tasks, link it to the knowledge and skills required, link it to the roles, to the job role, and we were trying to align that with what students are getting in Kuwait University, what courses they are taking, and what information and knowledge that they are getting in the university that will make them ready for the professional environment. Why we have done that? Because everybody knows that there is a lack of cyber talent. We cannot find them in the market, so we said, let's go and do early intervention and go early on to the Kuwait University, and in collaboration with them, let's see what they take in the curriculum, and let's align that with what they need to know, skill-based and knowledge-based in the professional setting, and align that and make them ready such that we can hire them, we can headhunt them once they are out of school. So this is about it, ending in 2021. We are mid-2021, and there is a lot to be done. Our goal is cyber resilience. We are working in all dimensions. We are working in all aspects to do that. So inshallah, we are hoping to collaborate with all entities in Kuwait, internal and external, and we want also to achieve the cyber resilience on a national level, not only on a sector or organizational level. Shukran.
Thank you. That's a very nice overview on your achievements, and we are proud for those achievements. Last but not least, let's get an opening statement from Engineer Mishal. Please free to introduce yourself and have this statement from you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to thank the Kuwait University for hosting this event. My name is Mishal Zaid. I work as the head of emergency response team in the CITRA. I was part of the team that translated what's called the strategy, the national strategy, to work packages and work building. So I know a lot of people are wondering, where are we currently in the cybersecurity on a national scale? So let me first introduce what happened in the past and where are we currently. That I'm just gonna go briefly on what happened before and where are we now. So the strategy there was a committee for the strategy in January 2016 that was established to write the strategy on a national scale. That strategy contains, I think, 3 objectives. Each objective has a lot of initiatives. On objective 1, for example, we have the first initiative that promote awareness on a national scale. And the second initiatives is to collaborate with the Ministry of Higher Education and Ministry of Education and universities to establish a curriculum for cybersecurity. Then after that, in 2017, CITRA was mandated by the Council of Ministers to translate that strategy into work packages. So we established what we called Phase 0 program. This Phase 0 program took us like approximately 6 months in collaboration with different entities in Kuwait, approximately 40 plus entities, which we called as CNIs, which is Critical National Infrastructure Organizations, and to assess the risk and maturity on a national scale and to see where are the gaps, to prepare for the landscape for the by the end of, I think, by the end of 2017, we had all the documentations. We sent documentations to different organizations. So after that, during that time, CITRA, or let's say Kuwait, has signed different agreements. We signed a memory of understanding with the UK, United Kingdom, and we signed a letter of intention with the United States, just to take their expertise and to get their idea on how to build the national center on a national scale. Therefore, we prepared all the documentations. We prepared what we need. Of course, one of the main pillars of building the National Cyber Center is to have a cyber academy. That cyber academy would be part of training and hands-on training on a national scale to fill the gaps in the missing talents in Kuwait. The Cyber Academy has approximately 4 to 5 levels, where we see each person should be assessed before entering which level. Therefore, we thought that universities and Minister of Education should have a curriculum to help us to push those people not to start with level 1. If they come out from the university having a good expertise, then they start with level 2 or level 3 based on their knowledge, which help us in providing more and more people across the country. Then after that, in 2019, there was an establishment for the National Higher Committee of Cybersecurity, led by His Highness the Prime Minister, to prepare all the establishment for the National Cybersecurity Center. However, due to the pandemic and what we're having, we had a delay in all of that because we needed other organization, what we call stakeholders, to review what we have done and to make sure that we are on the right track and to get their expertise and to get their views. Because as a standalone, we would never be able to do anything right. We have cybersecurity is a coordination between different organizations in the country. Therefore, there was a lot of reviews. There was a lot of back and forth discussions to get the best, let's say, practices. We know that we could buy the best technology. We could write the best practices, procedures. However, if we don't have the talented people, if we don't have the talented skill, with a simple mistake, of course, we're going to be vulnerable. So we needed to make sure that these three pillars, education, technology, and processes, be at the highest maturity. It's definite. After we did the risk and maturity assessment based on the CM model, we know that Kuwait is still low maturity, so we need to push that forward. So where are we currently? We are happy to say that the High Committee of Cybersecurity 3 weeks ago approved to start establishing the National Cybersecurity Center. So I think we are at this stage. It's a good announcement. So we'll wait for what happened in the near future, hopefully, to get the country on a more maturity scale.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we're going to go over time a little bit, but let me have a word from Professor Qasim. I'll just start with a question to you. You mentioned homegrown professionals. You mentioned, I'm quoting you, I'm just going to quote you here, investing in the human capital. Just elaborate on these two phrases.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm an educator, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what our contribution in the university with respect to cybersecurity education. I mentioned in my presentation that there is now a body of knowledge for establishing undergraduate programs, and we are working on proposing an undergrad program in cybersecurity. That there is a plan to share it with CITRA and have a conversation with them to see what is best fit. It is an effort organized by also Dr. Dari. But I can tell you at the graduate level, at the master level, we have a master in computing information systems, and we have a track on information security. We started this 2 years ago. We have courses ranging from cryptography to forensics to risk management to disaster recovery, contingency planning, also web application security or software security. So we are there. We already have 2 master theses in security. There is a couple of other theses ready to go for defense. So that is our modest contribution to really providing skilled professionals to the market, and we hope they will be. They are already employed. Many of them are in the oil sector, but we would like to see more of those graduates as we move in this program. We also recently, a couple of months ago, we proposed a higher diploma, which is less than a master degree, but it's only 8 courses, and we target professionals that are either in the cybersecurity field or they are IT professionals and they would like to move there. That diploma has 8 courses, and it is heavy on cybersecurity courses, in addition to project management, because after all, if you want to improve in cybersecurity, it is really a project or a mini project. So these are our modest contributions. As I'm happy to hear from CITRA and the CBK, from Ali and Mashal, that they have done lots of investment and they really value the investment in human capital, in training. Those programs on cyber professionals and are excellent. We would like to collaborate on those aspects. Again, as it was mentioned, it is a huge undertaking, and it really needs concerted collaboration so that we bring the level of maturity and readiness high. We can work on really the cyber aware citizen or the cyber ready citizen, which is really important, as I mentioned, for the vulnerable population like children. There is a lot of pain. I'm sure everybody has stories. We have heard about stories of lots of things that can be avoided by training and awareness. That's my talk on this, and happy to.
Okay, good. So let me ask brief questions so we don't go overboard on time, or at least minimize that. I want to start with some news, okay? So I just want to, there was a news item dated May 22nd, 2021. CBK issues statement on crypto assets and their risks. And there is like a document about risks, and I'll just quote the document. I mean, I want to kind of enrich a discussion about that. So in an effort to enhance financial awareness and encourage Kuwaiti bank sector's social responsibility activities, the Central Bank of Kuwait is presenting information about the high risks of crypto assets. The CBK supervised Diraya campaign, I think you mentioned that. So managed with the Kuwait Bank Association with the participation of all Kuwaiti banks. So there is what I understood from this news item is that there was some awareness campaign about cryptocurrencies and the risks involved in those. What catched your eye? I mean, do you see any problems like with people trading cryptocurrencies in Kuwait and there's like fraud transactions or money laundering going on, or is just a perspective? You're trying to build a perspective on the topic.
Yes. Look, the subject of cryptocurrency is a big subject, but let me just give you the position of the Central Bank of Kuwait as it is revealed by our PR campaign. We are highlighting, we are doing two things. One, we are trying to educate people that virtual currencies are something, cryptocurrencies are not virtual currencies. We are talking about cryptocurrencies specifically as a risky investment for people to go and speculate on. We are just highlighting the risk of speculation. When people, they want to invest their money because they are driven by the high value. We need to make sure as part of our responsibility to tell people, be careful. These are high volatile. These are unregulated. When we say unregulated, we don't mean that it is just not only accepted or denied in one jurisdiction. We mean that these are open infrastructures, networks, and they are basically not regulated by a single entity. So be careful about it. This is our message that we pass to to the community. The other thing is that people are mixing up, if you allow me, the people are mixing up with central bank digital currencies, stable coins, and cryptocurrencies. Okay, central bank digital currencies are a different ball game, different creatures. Stable coins, which are basically, they exist now and they are backed by real currency, fiat currencies, and cryptocurrencies, which are volatile, like Bitcoin or Bitcoin. So I hope I have answered you into that, because it's our responsibility to make people aware of the risks. We as a regulator, we are responsible to make sure that risk is managed when it comes to banks and also when it comes to the public. I hope I have answered you.
Yeah, I'll follow up with a question, and Mr. Mish, I'll get ready on this one. So you mentioned stable coins. So can we expect the dinar to be a stable coin, for example? That's one aspect. Is there a legal blockage on this? So can I come from a I buy from some forex like cryptocurrency exchange. I want to transfer to a bank in Kuwait. Do you have a problem with that?
And we are not. We are now studying that, and it is not only the Central Bank of Kuwait. Many people think because the crypto assets are called cryptocurrencies, they think it's under the mandate of the Central Bank of Kuwait only. We, as a Central Bank of Kuwait, we are basically a member of the higher committee for AML, which is headed by اللي هو Financial Investigation Unit, membered by Central Bank of Kuwait, membered by Capital Market Authority, membered by MOI, membered by many of the government agencies that are basically stakeholders in this. We are basically studying that to either regulate or not regulate. We did not make our final position in that because it's still under study with the committee. This is coming soon, inshallah, probably this year or probably early next year, because Kuwait has to comply and has to be ready for the international audit by the FATF. I'm sure you know FATF. This is the financial, the international organization that combats AML and terrorist financing. They are going to have an audit in Kuwait next year, and we need to be ready for that. And their mandate is either to regulate or not regulate, and you have to justify that. We are still working on that as a CBK and as a committee that has more members and more government agencies than CBK on that. Yes.
You're here. Can you have a statement on what's the CETRA's position on the topics? Cryptocurrency. Something you have discussed? Or you have...
Sorry.
We were talking about cryptocurrencies and regulating cryptocurrencies. Is that something that CETRA is involved in? Is that within the scope of CETRA at all?
Yeah, we have received actually to be of the committee that within the central bank, just to see and overview what is the risk of blockchain and what is the risk of cryptocurrency, blockchain technology. But as what could happen, and just started, we would meet in the June, and then we'll discuss and what procedures that we can take as such to protect the country from any, let's say, money laundering or any illegal issues that could be used from the cryptocurrencies. So we still on, let's say, on the beginning of that, so we haven't got anything yet. So we should meet soon, and then after that we can decide on what will be our role in this.
Another question, have you discussed something about cyber insurance? Cyber insurance, just for the audience, is just like a regular insurance, but you get insured for risks that are involved with cyber threats. For example, hacking and vulnerabilities that are in your system, and you get an insurer who will have the liability for any damage or that can happen with hacking, for example. So that being said, have you thought about developing cyber insurance in the state of Kuwait, bringing that topic in to the service, or something you would like to discuss, or maybe just thoughts about it?
Actually, from our point of view, from our perspective point of view, let's say the insurance is a commercial aspect, so we cannot decide because we see it from a, let's say, from a technical aspect. So if we need to see a cyber insurance, we should go to the, I think, SPK or MOC to discuss that more. And I think, again, we still, cyber it's a huge topic. There is a lot included in it. So we see from a, let's say, from a technical, the technical infrastructure, yeah, we we would see. But again, insurance, blockchain, of course, we need to coordinate with CBK and different entities such as MOC to look at that. So actually, we haven't seen the cyber insurance until we sit with, I think, the people who are in charge of that. Yeah.
Okay. So is that something that's not Fikra's viewpoint on it? You need some sort of consortium to talk about such topics. I mean, it's emerging topics.
Yes.
Is it a policy issue? Is it a technical issue? And within the policy framework, you probably want to put some policies on how cyber insurance should be regulated, right? What is the CBK's thought about cyber insurance?
Look, I have to start with that CBK does not regulate the insurance sector in Kuwait. It's MOC, and there is a unit that has been established or was established in 2019 or 20, which CBK is a member on, that basically tackles the insurance sector in Kuwait. Now, speaking of the cyber insurance, if you see the practice globally, there is one important aspect that has to be met in order to have in order to establish cyber insurance as something that you can buy in the market. You need to have the insurers, they need to know that whoever is basically buying the cyber insurance policy should have a basic hygiene, basic cybersecurity hygiene, because the risk is really high. They cannot insure you if you are not doing whatever is to be done in order to protect your environment against attacks. Unless and until we have this framework for that on a national level, I don't think cyber insurance will kick off here in Kuwait. This is a personal opinion. I don't think this is going to kick off anytime soon unless we make sure that this is basically this requirement basically is met as something. Now, how do we tackle basic IT risk or basic IT disruptions or losses? Usually the traditional insurance companies here in Kuwait would basically include it in the blanket policy, the policy they sell you. They usually cater for that, but it's not accurate. It's not fully accurate for specific attacks. Like, for example, when you say fraud, when you say information leakage, when you say ransomware, it's not established yet. The market is not there yet. But you have to establish this basic cyber hygiene in order for the cyber insurers to come and say, okay, I'm willing to take the risk because I have an assurance that you are doing the basics before I can come and I can reimburse you on any cyber loss.
Let's wrap up. I mean, I want to have a word from Mr. Vivek. I mean, I'll read the last statements from you based on the discussions that you have seen. I mean, we want a last statement from you about building capacity in Kuwait, the state of Kuwait, the U.S. perspective on building capacities, and the different problems that we have been discussing so far. We talked about education, we talked about risks in the financial sector, we talked about policy gaps. What is the U.S. motivation or perspective on future relationship with Kuwait? Of course, you have been into the financial aspects, right? You have been what is your title? I think you are the economic affairs, right?
Economic affairs, yes.
So, doesn't cybersecurity affect the economic affairs between the two nations?
Of course, I think the key word, as you saw, I mean, throughout the discussions from the very first speaker to until now, is collaboration, and I think collaboration is the key. Collaboration, finding the right partners, working with the right groups of people, working with the right stakeholders. I think is a very important aspect of strengthening cybersecurity. And clearly, the cyber security affects everything. I mean, from personal lives to professional lives to economics and everything in between. So from that perspective, of course, the U.S. Embassy stands ready to collaborate with any agency within the Kuwaiti government. And I think we start off, as I mentioned earlier, we work very closely with Citra in terms of, we have a letter of intent that was signed by the United States back in 2017. We are also working closely with other embassies. For example, the United Kingdom, the French, the Germans, and so on and so forth. Whoever has an interest in cyber issues, we are working with. One thing I noticed here in Kuwait, which is sort of symptomatic to many other countries, including the United States, is that developing capacity depends on the maturity of the institution. So, for example, in Kuwait, in my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion, is what I'm expressing, this is not the embassy perspective, is, sectors like financial, for example, the Central Bank of Kuwait or Ministry of Defense, have a very high level of maturity in terms of knowing the risks, assessing the risks, and then coming up with solutions. And I think Citra has been working very closely with them as well. For example, the oil sector, within the oil sector and within the K companies, there are different levels of where, how the cybersecurity plays into each of those K companies. But overall, I think what matters to Kuwait is the oil industry, is the financial sector, and the defense, and all three have a very robust cybersecurity frameworks. Now, unfortunately, one of the things that we found within our sort of informal discussions and formal discussions is that all these institutions are not really coordinating with each other in the way that they should. And I think that is one of the key aspects or the key gap that the US is willing to fill. We are willing to work with different agencies. We are willing to bring our expertise from the private sector in the United States to Kuwait and try to come up with solutions that will enable Kuwait to become a strong partner. And I think the strength of Kuwait is the strength of United States in many ways, because if Kuwait is vulnerable, then so are we. And which is why I think so important for us to be able to partner with everyone, with all the government entities in Kuwait. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, that's a nice wrap up for a lot of the perspectives. I mean, I thank everyone for their insight. I mean, you have shared a lot of information. I'm just letting you speak as freely because you have just pouring a lot of enriched information on the contributions you have made, the collaborations that you have initiated, and I think that's what we are looking for. We are looking for interesting discussions and informative discussions that are customized, and I really value your input in many ways. I mean, thank you, everyone. And I hope the audience enjoyed the panel, and that's a wrap, I guess, for me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.